The Galactic Council had classified humans as a Class C species, sentient, technologically capable, but harmless. The classification stemmed from humanity's physical frailty compared to other spacefaring races. Humans lacked natural armor, possessed no venomous secretions, and their musculature was average at best. Their only notable trait was their endurance, which the Council dismissed as irrelevant in an age of interstellar travel. Ambassador Lorith of the Vexari delegation found humans fascinating despite their classification. Unlike his crystalline, people who lived for millennia, humans burned through their brief lives with an intensity that bewildered him. Their art, music, and literature spoke of passions his species had long forgotten. The Galactic Summit was well underway on Nexus Station when Lorith spotted a human in military dress. Not a diplomat, but a soldier, an oddity at a peace conference. Intrigued, he approached. "Greetings, human. I am Ambassador Lorith. Your presence here is unusual." The human straightened, his weathered face reflecting decades of service despite being relatively young by galactic standards. "Captain Jack Miller, Earth Defense Force. I'm part of the security detail for our delegation." Lorith's crystalline features shifted in what passed for a smile among the Vexari. "Security? Against what? The Council deems your species harmless. What protection could you offer?" Miller's eyes hardened slightly. "With respect, Ambassador, the Council's assessment is incomplete." "How so?" "Your species lacks natural defenses common to even juvenile races." "Not all defenses are visible," Miller replied. "May I join you for a drink? It might help explain things." Lorith agreed, curious about this soldier's perspective. They settled at a quiet table overlooking the nebula beyond the station. The captain ordered something called whiskey, while Lorith selected a mineral solution. "Your council," Miller began, swirling the amber liquid, "measures danger by fangs, claws, and scales. You catalog species by their physical attributes and technological capabilities, but you miss something fundamental about humanity. And what might that be?" "We've tasted mortality our entire existence," Miller said. "Every human knows they will die. Soon, by your standards. We feel death's breath on our necks from the moment we're born." Lorith's crystalline form vibrated with intrigue. "Many species understand their mortality." "Understanding isn't experiencing," Miller countered. "Your people live for thousands of years. The Grell 10,000, the Irradians practically immortal, but humans, we're lucky to see a century. We don't just understand death, we taste it daily." Miller sipped his whiskey, the station lights reflecting in the glass. "In our brief lives, we've fought more wars against ourselves than most species have against external threats. We've developed weapons capable of destroying our own planet. Not because we needed them, but because we feared each other." "That seems counterproductive," Lorith observed. "Perhaps. But it taught us something no other species in the Council has learned: how to fight with absolute commitment. When your life is already fleeting, you develop a relationship with death that longer-lived species cannot comprehend." Miller set down his glass. "Our Special Forces operatives train to function while injured beyond what your medical AIs would classify as terminal. Our soldiers continue fighting with wounds your species would consider fatal, not because we're stronger, but because we've always lived alongside death." Lorith's crystalline structure darkened with concern. "You speak as though this is admirable." "Not admirable. Inevitable. Humans taste mortality every day. It flavors our existence. It makes our joy sharper, our love deeper, and yes, our violence more absolute when necessary." Miller leaned forward. "The Vexari would surrender if 20% of your forces were destroyed. Your historical conflicts show this pattern. The Grell retreat at 30% casualties. For humans, we've fought wars where entire generations were decimated, yet we continued. You can't possibly mean the Battle of the Somme, Stalingrad, the Lunar Rebellion. We fought until the dead outnumbered the living, then fought more." Miller's voice remained calm, matter of fact. "Not because we're monsters, but because mortality tastes different to us. It's not a distant concept, it's the bitter note under everything we do. Lorith felt a chill through his crystalline form. Why tell me this? Because your council's classification is dangerous for everyone. Miller finished his drink. Humans aren't harmless. We're simply contained by our own ethics. Threaten those we protect, and you'll discover what happens when a species that has tasted death decides to serve it to others. The human stood, straightening his uniform. I hope we never have to demonstrate this practically, Ambassador. I genuinely do. As Miller walked away, Lorith hurriedly composed a message to the council. The classification of humans required immediate revision. Not because they possessed superior strength or technology, but because they harbored something far more dangerous, a familiarity with death that transformed fragile beings into unrelenting warriors when threatened. 3 days later, humans were reclassified as Class A. Approach with extreme diplomatic caution. The official reason cited cultural and philosophical considerations. But those who had spoken with Captain Miller understood the truth. Humans weren't dangerous because of what they could do to others. They were dangerous because of what they had already done to themselves. They had tasted mortality and found not fear, but resolve. And that taste, as the galaxy would soon learn, made all the difference.